Hi, everyone. This is Patricia Potter with UAB. This is Wednesday, March 30th. This is the Society of Thoracic Surgeons INTERMACS User Group webinar. Thank you all for joining. We have Rama here with us today to take us through the dashboard and do some training with us and show us how this exciting tool works. Before we get started, I just wanted to introduce the team on the line. Oops. So from the data warehouse team, we have Dr. Rama Rudaraju on the line. He's the director of programming, and Dr. Ryan Cantor, the lead statistician and the director of reporting here at UAB. Both of them are responsible for this wonderful dashboard, this marvelous tool that we're going to go through today. We also have Chase Lenderman on the line. He is our data analyst, and John Pennington. He's responsible for the data, and he does a lot of the analytics side of it. And then from STS, I just wanted to thank Carol Crone, the senior data manager, the database manager, and Leanne Jones, database manager for congenital and general thoracic surgery. So thanks, guys, for joining. Just a couple of things to overview before we get started. I just wanted to thank you all for joining. We've received some really great feedback on the dashboard, and we're excited for you all to see it today. And hopefully you guys are all using it and you can provide any feedback that you have. And then just real quick, I just wanted to go over the COVID-19 update. We're still continuing the COVID-19 extension. So when you're entering your follow-ups, if a patient isn't seen during your follow-up window, you still have 30 days post that window. If they are seen in clinic and you do collect follow-up information, you can use that follow-up data. You just enter the last day of the follow-up window on the date of the follow-up and use that clinic visit. And then here's our contact information. Catherine Holyfield wasn't able to join us today, but if you have any questions for her, her contact information is here, kholyfield@sts.org. My contact information here is pkpotter@uabmc.edu. And if you have any FAQs or any questions, you can send them to myself or Catherine, or you can use the INTERMACS FAQ inbox, and we will respond to you with that. So thank you everybody for joining. I'm going to turn it over to Rama. If you have any questions about the dashboard, please put them in the Q&A box, not in the chat, and we'll get those questions answered for you. So, all right, Rama, I'm going to turn it over to you, okay?
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Patricia. Hello, everyone. Excited to share about some of the new updates on the dashboard today. So we'll go through the dashboard, the different components of the dashboard, and then look at the how you could use it and the different details about the different displays. So to begin with, the goal of the dashboard is to provide a visual summary of the data entered at a hospital, and so that the reports and the displays can be used for comparing hospital data versus overall INTERMACS, and for quality assurance and for benchmarking. So to begin with, so it is added as a new tab, as most of you already might have seen that. It's added as a new tab on the home screen. So it's right next to the home icon. So it's added here, and the access is available to all users at active sites in INTERMACS. And for the purposes of this demo, we are using a demo hospital, Hospital X, and it contains patients selected from different hospitals at random. So there's no PHI involved. Before we get into the actual displays, here are the sections at the top level. So at the top, we show the different sections. Although the menu has, as we will see in a short while, the menu has changed. So it will look, the newer menu looks like this. So we have this top level menu at the top. And then each page has a set of filters it has, so these are the different filters which will make sure that all the data is filtered at the bottom. And then we have a legend here with center code and differentiating the center versus Intermax data. And that color applies to all the displays. And then we have the plots at the bottom. So the different sections that are available in the dashboard are reported events at the top. Again, reported events, patient characteristics, 30-day adverse event percentages, and metrics. So let's look at each of these sections and delve deeper into each of these sections. So the reason why the first display in the dashboard is the reported events, and the purpose of developing this display is to give a snapshot of what is happening at your hospital and make sure that all the data is accounted for. And what this display is, it is an accounting of events entered at your site in each of the calendar quarter. So if I reported 3 infection events occurring in Jan 2021, for example, then they'll show up under 2021 Q1 column. And all of them are counted by the actual event date. And this particular display is updated nightly. So it updates every night. So before we look at the demo and how it actually looks in the dashboard, let's take this scenario. I'm a user at a hospital. I want to see the number of Intermax patients at my hospital in the last 4 quarters. And also as a user, I want to see the number of infections entered at my hospital. So here is the display. So here is the first page on the dashboard. So here, to answer my first question, I want to see the number of active patients at my hospital. So I can see the numbers at the first row, and then I can also see the number of new patients at my hospital in the last 4 quarters. And we have this help icon where it shows how these numbers are calculated. For example, new patients is patients with the first Intermax device implanted at this site in this 4 quarters, whereas active patients is total count of Intermax patients on a device at this hospital. And now to answer my second question, I want to see the number of infections at all the 4 quarters. So I can see the total number of infections across all 4 quarters here. So that answers my both of these questions. And similarly, I can see the other rows here, the number of transplants, deaths, and etc. So that is the first display. Now moving on to the second display. The second section in the dashboard is patient characteristics. The reason, again, the goal of this section is to provide a visual summary of the patient characteristics and comparing site versus Intermax, and to look at the trends over time. So what this section is, it's a accounting of patient characteristics in each calendar quarter. And we can compare site versus Intermax and also look at trends over time. So what this section is, it's an accounting of each calendar quarter. So for example, if I enter 3 patients whose first implant date falls in Jan 2021, then they'll show up under 2021 Q1 column. So the key is they're counted by the patient's first implant date. And this particular data source is updated monthly. So let's go look at the demo. But before we do that, again, let's consider these 2 scenarios. I'm a user at the site, and at my site, I want to see if my hospital is doing more destination therapy patients when compared to Intermax. And also, I want to see the trends of DT patients at my hospital. So here is the second display on the dashboard. All right, so here again, we see all the filters here. And then after the filters, we have a legend which says my hospital is in orange, and then overall Intermax is gray. And then here are all the displays. So to answer my question, I want to see the trends on destination therapy. So trends on device strategy. So let's get to that section here. So here is device strategy. So it shows in each of the quarters. Here's the breakdown of different device strategies here. And then we see that my site has been did 7% of bridge to transplant in 2021 Q2, and then 93% DT patients again in the same quarter, whereas it's more than compared to Intermax. So that's Intermax did 4 and then 77%, and it's clear looking at this, looking at the pattern that from 2021 Q3, my site has been doing more DT patients. So it's 100% DT in all the rest of the quarters. So that's an interesting trend. So that now from all the remaining displays, I can focus on DT patients. So let's see. Here is a new filter that we added recently, which is site volume. So where we can see the trends with sites having similar volumes or like volumes based on these filters. So let's try to apply that. Now I want to see the sites with site volume 11 to 20. And now it shows that I'm not seeing my site because my site does not fall under this category, but I can see the trends for all the sites that do 11 to 20 implants per year. So this is all the different trends. And then I can see the other trend. So 0 to 10. So my site falls under 0 to 10. So if I want to compare with the sites that have a similar volume as my site, then I can do that. I can select this and I can see the trends between the sites with similar volumes. Okay. So I'll apply this filter back. Now, since again, we are doing destination therapy, if I just apply DT, the destination therapy as a filter, now we can see all of these trends now for age group, gender, everything is just about DT patients. So now I can filter down and see the different trends. So with those two questions answered on that, now let's move on to the next section. So the next section is focusing on adverse event percentages. The purpose of this is to provide a visual summary of specific adverse event trends and then to compare site versus Intermax. This display is again, the reason for this display is to provide a percentage of patients that experience a certain adverse event within 30 days. So again, if I reported 3 stroke events on patients that had first implant in Jan 2021, then they'll show up under 2021 Q1. So again, the count is by the first implant date. And outcomes are counted if they occur within 30 days of the first implant. And again, the data source for this is updated monthly. So again, let's, before we look at the demo, let's consider these two scenarios. I want to see the mortality percentage of DT patients at my hospital. Since we saw that my hospital is doing more DT patients, I want to see the mortality percentage. And then the second question is I want to compare the stroke percentage for DT patients at my hospital compared to overall Intermax. So let's look at those two displays. So now when I click on the third button here, so there are a series of menus available here that are focused on different AEs. So there is mortality, stroke, readmission, device malfunction, and others. So we can focus on any of those. So with the question in mind, let's look at the mortality percentage for DT patients. So the filter for DT patients is already applied. So now I can see the mortality, 30-day mortality percent is in the last 4 quarters at my site is like the 7 here, and it's similar. It was similar to Intermax in the 2021 Q2, but for some reason it was very high in 2021 Q3. So 9 patients implanted and then 2 deaths. So because of that, it went high, and then it was again below the Intermax. So we did, which was 0 deaths in Q4. And then in the last quarter of 2021 Q1, it's 0 also. So there's this asterisk here. Because this data, there might be a gap here because this quarter, the data in this quarter might still not make it into the builds. So the numbers in the last column is always we might not have all of the data in here. So now we can see the mortality percentage and compared with Intermax. Now let's move on to stroke. So that's the first question answered. Now the second question is about stroke. We want to compare the stroke percentage between my hospital and Intermax. And for this specific scenario, actually the stroke percentage is 0 all across, which is good. Whereas in Intermax, the stroke percentage is around 6%. It varies around 6, 5, or 4. So you can see that we're doing good here in terms of stroke. And same thing, we can look at any of these remaining sections, and go through and compare the percentages. Before we continue, I'll take a pause here, look at any questions, and if you want me to click on any of these buttons or do anything, please you can type your questions in Q&A so we can look at that.
Thanks, Rama. This is really great so far. Do you want me to read you the questions?
Yeah, actually,
okay.
I just pull it up, Patricia. Thank you. Yeah. So
you've got it.
Yeah,
okay.
I think I have it. Yeah.
Okay.
So how do we find the patients identified as an infection? Oh, okay. If you mean like how to drill down, or like what patients went into the infection or went into that count of infection, that drill down feature is something for as an idea for a future version. We don't have that drill down feature yet, but that is something we're considering. But you can see the counts, as I mentioned, you can see the counts on the reported events, but if you want to see the patient IDs of the patients that actually went into that count, we don't have that feature yet. And then second is, will there be a time when we can view adverse events beyond 30 days post-implant, initial implant? Yes, that is one of the feature we are currently working on. So for some of the displays, we are planning to extend or we are working on extending the number of days. So that is coming soon. So the next question is, will we be able to drill down to patient-specific data within the dashboard, identify which patients fall into category? That's again one more feature. That's a feature that is that is in the works, or that is in the list of things to do in future, but we don't have that yet.
And let me jump in here with a comment as well, Rama. Hi, this is Ryan Cantor. Yeah, we hope that these features will be your one-stop place for all of this as we move through in the future. But if you were trying to get a list of patients that met certain criteria with certain timeframes, in real time at your institution, it's actually pretty straightforward to do that with the form downloads. And so I've worked with a few sites on how to use that. Naturally, we want to get everything into our new integrated system. But if you ever need, immediate access to who had a stroke in the last year at my site, all readily available within the form download. And, we're happy to work with people on that.
Yeah, that's a good point, Ryan. Thank you. Yes. Okay. Any other questions so far about the first 3 displays before we move on? If you want me to go into a drill down into any other features, I'm happy to. Okay. So let's continue. So again, there is a big menu of AEs that we can drill down into and focus on next. So moving on to the benchmarking and metrics. So the last section is about metrics. The goal is to provide a visual summary of calculated outcomes trending over time and also be able to compare site versus Intermax. So one of the metrics, for example, post-op length of stay for patients discharged on a device. Now, there are two comparison groups. So there are this is broken down into two displays for length of stay. So in the first display, we show the patients at the time compared to aggregate of all patients in Intermax. So this is length of stay at my site compared to overall Intermax. Now, if you want to know what is the 75th percentile, 90th percentile for length of stay among all Intermax hospitals, then we can do that in the second display. And the display for this is also updated monthly. So now let's go in with these questions. So as a user, I want to look at the trends of length of stay for DT patients at my hospital. And then I also want to see the 25th, 75th, 90th percentile for length of stay at all sites in Intermax. So let's look at that. So this is the last menu at the top level menu, metric benchmarking. So we have two main sections of display. So we have length of stay, and then we also have ICU days. So looking at the length of stay, so this is at the, again, a comparison between my hospital versus Intermax. So I can see the median is around like 25, 28, and 12.5 in Q4. And then, whereas for Intermax, the median is constant at almost around 20. So it looks like the length of stay, the median length of stay is 12.5 in 2021 Q4. Okay, so then we can see the same display here. Comparison between my hospital versus Intermax, and I can see all the numbers in this pop-up. And again, we can apply any of these filters to drill down and see the exact numbers. For example, I can also compare with sites that are doing similar volume. So let's say if I want to see all the sites that do 0 to 10 implants, then I see that the median is still almost 21, 18, and 17, which is interesting. Okay, and then compared to my numbers, which should be the same. So now I'll apply back this filter. So now the second length of stay display is about. So this is a representation. It's the box plot that represents each hospital and the length of stay at each of the hospitals. So here we can see that the median length of stay is 25. And then, so this is all 4 quarters combined. The median is 25. And then we can see that median at my site is for all 4 quarters combined is 25. Now, how does that compare with all the other sites? So this gives a good representation of that. So all the other sites, you can see that the 98th percentile is 33.9, and then the 10th percentile is 14. And then there's, we can see all the other numbers for 75th percentile, 25th percentile, and so on. And if you want to see that by broken down by quarter, we can do that. And again, as we saw earlier, in the third quarter, we were doing actually pretty good in terms of length of stay. The median length of stay was 12.5. So we were, and this is the comparison for all the other sites. Now, if you want to look at the ICU days, again, it is similar. If you want to see the number of days patients spend in ICU, you can see the median days and then the median for overall Intermax. And then again, this is all DT patients still, because we still have this filter and we just want to see for DT patients. So the median ICU days is 12 for DT patients. And even if I apply the all, since we are mainly doing only DT patients, it should still be very similar. So it's 11.5. Okay. Again, I'll take a pause here. And then if you have any questions about these metrics, please type them in the Q&A and we can go over them. So there's one question: is there a way to see cumulative or ongoing or adjust time frame for all metrics, including AE, like the last year of events compared to Intermax, or is that just what is available in the reports? I'll make a quick comment here, and then I think Ryan will be able to answer this more comprehensively. So the time period and everything here is set to all these 4 quarters that we have, the last 4 quarters, and it's rolling last 4 quarters whenever you look at the dashboard. So that's the times, that's a set time period, but currently we don't have a way to, where you could select any time period or go back to a different time period. Ryan, can you comment more on that?
I'm a little lost on your comments here. I mean, are you wanting me to define what the column definitions are, or
no? I'm saying like
on the screen.
So no, so is there a way to see cumulative or ongoing or adjust time frame for all metrics, including AEs?
Okay, so for the version 1, I understand. So for the version 1 of this tool, we made it choices early on in the design to have a rolling 4 quarters. So the current tool as it stands is how it was designed to compare what's going on in these rolling 4 quarters. You know, future iterations might allow to adjust, you know, like a longer time frame or longer outcomes, like we said, but there's not a current place in the tool where you can go back beyond these current 4 quarters. The only kind of deviation, can you go back to the metric benchmark of length of stay? Like that was showing, yeah, length of stay by hospital. Yeah. So this depiction right here is for that whole, you know, that whole group of time for the last 4 quarters, you know, not broken out by quarter except underneath it. But certainly keep comments like that coming at us, and, you know, email Catherine or Rama on the report team, because having like the individual requests on, you know, I'd love to see this over the last 4 years, or I'd love to see this, just like you said, you know, my site this year versus last year, will help us how to prioritize, you know, new features and new enhancements.
Okay. Any other questions about any of the displays we went through until now? Please type them in the Q&A. So moving on. So you are able to, so there is an export feature, so you can download the dashboard as a PDF or a PowerPoint. So it's the download button here, and you can download this as a PDF, as a PowerPoint. You can also get like a cross tab, which I think downloads a data set or some, yeah, in Excel or CSV, which provides the data that went into this, into generating this display. So you can also get that. So in conclusion, the goal is to provide a visual summary of data entered at a hospital, and it can be used again for comparing hospital data versus all of Intermax, and then can be used as a QA tool and for benchmarking. So wanted to give quickly usage statistics, and I think there's good usage on the dashboard. So number of hospitals that viewed the dashboard at least once is 168. And the number of hospitals that viewed the dashboard more than 3 times is 137. And we really hope that you use it and use it for your any of the benchmarking or for QA purposes. Hope you use it, and we certainly hope that it will be a useful tool. We recently did a survey of the dashboard to collect the feedback and the features about about the current dashboard and also ideas for future. So thanks a lot for everybody who responded to that survey. And again, if you have any other feedback, you're always welcome to email us, Catherine or Patricia or any other, or in the reporting email, you can email us and let us know about the new features. We also have a Kaplan-Meier tool. We can certainly do a separate session about that. And we also have some recorded content about the Kaplan-Meier tool available on that should be available on the YouTube channel. So that provides, again, Kaplan-Meier tool it's a great way to apply any cohort and get Kaplan-Meier curves about those patient cohorts. Again, comparing your site versus Intermex. And the usage of that is the number of hospitals, at least once is 53. And then that viewed the KM tool more than 3 times is 38. So there are few sites that are using this a lot. And we certainly hope that you make use of this tool and get really early or get an idea of trends and the different tools in the Kaplan-Meier. So we're really interested in how you are using. So we presented a few scenarios for the dashboard today. So we are really interested in how you are using, or if you have any different scenarios that you want to share with the group. It'll be a great way for everybody to learn. So if you're interested, please contact us, let us know, and then we'll figure out a way for you to present a short, like just a 5 or 10 minute demo or a presentation at an upcoming webinar. So we're really interested in this. So please let us know if there are any scenarios you want to share with everybody. That'll be great. So that's all we have about the dashboard, but the floor is open to any questions about this or in general about Intermex. Back to you, Patricia. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rama. That was so great. Really helpful. Does anybody else have any questions? You can put them in the Q&A if you do. We have some more time if you have any questions.
I don't see any more. Oh, I just wanted to say thank you, Rama, for that very nice presentation. I thought that was wonderful. And I liked your demonstrations of actually walking through scenarios. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Karen.
Yeah.
I also just want to mention that our next dashboard analytics and reporting webinar will be on April 21st at 2 p.m. Central. In the chat box, I did put the link to the YouTube channel. This webinar will be uploaded there, so you'll be able to see Rama's wonderful dashboard presentation. So if you want to play it back or reference it back, it will be there, and it will be saved with today's dates, and we'll title it Dashboard Training, so you can reference that if you need to. So thank you everybody for joining. Thank you so much, Rama. Really appreciate it. That was a wonderful presentation.
Oh, thanks.
Looks like we have one more question from Kelly. Any thought to adding all patient selection to the customized cohort report and outcomes analytics tools? Right now, there are only primary VAD and prior VAD options, and the difference between these two still confuse a lot of my team.
Yes, so in the customized cohort reporting, if you have that primary VAD or prior VAD options, if you unselect both of them, from my understanding, that should be all patients. But Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong. But
yeah, if both of those are checked or unchecked, it would be all patients.
Yes, correct.
Right, and then the difference between primary VAD versus prior support, just summarize the concept there is that if on their first Intermax, device on the pre-implant form, there's evidence of a prior VAD beforehand. So that would be like the events, this hospitalization, or prior surgeries. If any of the say LVAD, prior LVAD, RVAD, or TAH, then Intermax isn't capturing their first ever device, and so they would be in the prior support group versus the other. But yeah, you can get to all patients by just making sure both of those are checked.
Sorry, both of those unchecked, right? Or both of those checked? Yeah, that's right.
I think the functionality actually, if you have everything unchecked in a question box, it will treat it. It won't use that question box if you check everything. So I think those are equivalent ways of saying all patients.
Yeah, correct. Yes. Okay. And I think two of the participants have their hands raised. So if you have any questions, please let us know.
I can unmute people. This is Carol. The first person I see is Dana. So let me unmute you, Dana, and you could go ahead if you're able to unmute yourself to ask your question if you'd like. Okay. The next person, I'm not sure the person's name. It's AMD 140. Just have to go ahead and unmute yourself. Maybe it was two erroneous hand raises, or maybe they don't have microphones. Oh, here's Carol. No. Okay. So I guess they're not able to unmute or didn't have a question.
Well, that's all I have. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Again, thank you so much, Rama. This was wonderful. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to myself or Catherine Holyfield.
Thank you so much, Rama. And thank you, Patricia, for leading the call today.
Great job, guys. Excellent call.
Yeah.